to Weekly Reset. Thank you guys all for being here and supporting us. Normally we have our podcast on Sundays, but today we have a special guest who was not available on Sunday, and we decided to move it to today. Now, this podcast is primarily for gaming discussion, but I'll also be bringing in guests that I would like to showcase. And today we are pleased to feature Caibek. Now, I'd like to introduce you to my co hosts. I've got Cease here, who I've known for a little over a year, and he is probably one of the most amazing Swarter players that I know on multiple classes. Say hi, Cease.
Hello.
Okay. I also have my other co-host here, which is Score. And I've known Score for a little over 2 years now. He's a rather new variety streamer, and he's been currently streaming Destiny 2, but I'm sure that's going to change in the future. And Score, you say hi.
What's up, everybody?
There you go. So, here is our guest. Our guest is Caibek, also known as K0ODA.
Yeah, that's correct. It's my Twitch moniker.
Yes, and we have a shout out for you as well. If you guys want to check out Kai playing, usually I want to. So Kai, I wanted to ask you, how long have you been playing Sword Tour?
I've been playing since 2013. I came at the very last patch of 2.0, going into 3.0.
And how did you find out about the game?
A couple of my real life friends suggested we should give it a try, and I had been an avid World of Warcraft player, so MMOs were kind of my thing. And I'm a big fan of Star Wars as well, so when they suggested we try the Star Wars MMO, I was all for it.
So what other games do you like to play then?
I play just about anything. I'm a big fan of, World of Warcraft, obviously. I play a lot of Destiny too. Was playing with Score today, having a lot of fun. Basically anything popular, I'll probably try it. Call of Duty, Halo used to be back in the day one of my favorite games, so it's kind of all over the place.
So do I assume that that you're going to, when the Halo gets released, you're that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Good, you have a lot of people waiting to play with you. Sure.
Dude, we're gonna have some
I
baller
know.
custom games.
So that's good. That just means one more person to carry me when at the game. Never played Halo. So you said that you played World of Warcraft. So what is there a specific class that you mained?
Not particularly. I kind of play a mix of everything. I did start on Paladin and played that pretty regularly for about 2 or 3 years before I started getting good at the game and branched out to other classes. Shaman, Paladin, played a bit of Mage. It's hit and miss on stuff.
Well, do you mind if I ask really quick, when did you start playing WoW?
I played WoW towards the end of 2009, going into 2010.
Ooh.
Oh, so
Very
you've
nice.
been playing for a very long time. Now, have you played through through BFA or?
I did. I played a lot of BFA at the start. I was in a Mythic raiding guild. We cleared up to, I think, Mythic Ahun before my guild fell apart due to people's schedules just not matching. But I did play it a good bit, tried some PvP. I didn't really enjoy it too much, and I came back to Star Wars.
Same. I started with World of Warcraft as well, and I almost never went back. Did you ever try WoW Classic? No.
I did. A lot of my real life friends played the game and suggested that I come play it with them. And I'd always been a big proponent of not trying to go back to older versions of the game due to nostalgia really driving how people perceived it. But after playing it, it was refreshing. A slower paced game where actually playing the game was the focus and not the chores list of dailies and grinding. It was a lot of fun, actually. I really enjoyed it.
So true.
Yeah, I didn't play that long. Like I came in during when Draenor got released. I was a later player, but yeah, it just seemed like a big grind. Still, I'm like level 20 something, and I'm like, oh my god, am I there yet? Can I get my mount? But that's just me. And but what I do remember is people telling me in retail when I came in, oh my god, back in the day. And so I kind of got a feel of what back in the day was. And I'm like, where's my freaking mount already? I'm 25. Give me my horse. Plus, I have tons of mounts. Okay, so currently you're playing, what, Destiny 2 then? Are you playing any SWTOR or?
I'm kind of taking a break from Star Wars since the reason why I mostly played it was the competitive aspect with my team, but we're not playing as a team at the moment. Everybody's kind of branching out to different games due to Star Wars kind of a burnout for the game, I would say. I still do regs every now and then. I know people have watched my Hearthstone Jesus stream, so definitely still do regs from time to time.
Now, when since 6.0 is actually dropping in a week, think you'd come back to try the gearing and all that?
I'm definitely going to participate in 6.0. I did some PTS with C's and a couple of the other guys from Lukewarm, and it was interesting. I'm not excited for the new gearing system. I think they're taking some steps back from what they've currently got, and even further back from what we had towards the end of 5.0 with the unassembled components. Losing player agency in favor of RNG systems and more grind, I feel, is a negative compared to what they've given us, and they're kind of taking that away and giving us something else that's not quite as good.
But you will try it though, right?
I
See
will
or
try it. I
okay.
will try it to see.
So okay, so let's kind of touch about that. You said that you played competitive, so were you guys doing group ranked or solo ranked? Both.
It was definitely group ranked. I'm not a big fan of solo ranked, as most people who know me in any capacity. I'm not a fan of solo ranked. Definitely group ranked.
And reasoning.
Group ranked is the more competitive aspect of the game. I feel like solo rank breeds a really toxic community and environment for players to learn in. I really, really dislike how solo ranked has shaped the community's perception of ranked PvP, and it also, in my opinion, limits players' ability to branch out and challenge themselves. Group ranked is the apex of competition when you have four players all working together to accomplish a goal, versus solo ranked, which is a lot of blaming and shifting of responsibility based on certain factors, which makes sense because it is completely random in a lot of ways and can be very mismatchy on how things work. And it gives players an avenue to avoid actually improving, because when you can blame something else for the reason why you didn't succeed, you never really challenge yourself in a way that is going to make you succeed. So
True.
I don't like solo rank for that reason.
That's a fair statement. I mean, I do believe that too. My very limited experience with solo to get my deco. So I'll be there in preseason, everyone. So you guys can all get out, and I will announce, hey, get out of queue. But
No, I'm not gonna do that.
They're gonna get in queue.
no, it's funny because Cease will be like, I'm like, oh, I think I'm gonna do some solo rank. Like,
Preseason.
he's like, okay, yeah, I'm not getting in. Or if he's in queue, and I'm like, oh, should I come in? And he's like, Nami, you're gonna f up the queue. Please don't do that, please. And I'm like,
I think
okay.
it's more because you're a healer, isn't it? Not because of a.
Yes. There's not
No,
another
I wasn't
healer.
healing.
Game won't pop.
No, I don't queue as a healer. I might this preseason, this season to get my decos, might queue as a healer because I think I've probably gotten a little bit better. But no, I queued as yes as a juggler. But
Oh, okay.
but anyways, let's go on. So you stream. So I want to know, how long have you been streaming?
Not very long. Uh, I only recently acquired PC ports that would allow me to stream the game, and internet that would also allow me to stream it. I'd probably say a better part of a year and a half now. I've been able to actually stream the game with some quality.
Oh, okay. So about the same time as me then. You heard it about that thing. Now, do you only stream SWTOR or do you stream other games as well?
When I played WoW, I streamed a lot of my progression with my raid team. Since I don't play WoW anymore, I don't necessarily stream it. I do try to stream other games, but I run into issues with, obviously, my PC is still limited streaming the newer games based on my CPU. Once I get an upgrade on that, I'll probably look to be streaming more.
Oh,
But
okay.
right now, it's basically just Star Wars.
Gotcha. Can you stream Destiny 2?
No, I cannot. I recently upgraded my monitor to a 1440p monitor, and the graphical requirements to run my game at the proper FPS will not let me stream it due to my graphics card simply being unable to handle that much strain.
Oh, okay. Is there any other games out there that you're interested in playing or trying out? If, let's just say, 6.0 drops, you're just like, okay, I'm done with this. I don't want to grind in 6.0. Because like you were saying, you were more interested in group rank, and if you don't have a team, you know what I mean. If not everybody's coming together, is there another game that you are thinking about?
There's several. There's several. The Master Chief Collection coming out. Obviously, I'm excited for that. The new Modern Warfare. I believe I've already pre-ordered that. Uh, Obviously, Destiny 2 has been my current focus, and I'm really enjoying that a lot as well.
Yeah, same, same. Now you work, right?
Yes, I
So
do.
you do you have much time for gaming?
I do. Not as much as I wish I did. Not as much as I did while I was in school, obviously. But I could still get a good 4 to 5 hours in most days.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Now, I know this is going back to SWTOR, and so I know it's been a while, but are there any changes or recommendations you'd like to see in the game since it is a game that you, I guess, loved either at one time or liked at one point?
That's a pretty broad question. In terms of like overall changes that I would like to see, I'd like a simpler gear system, one that gives you a currency that you trade in for to a vendor, and it gives you the best item available, and there's nothing more to it. That would be fantastic. Uh, I'd like to see a little more focus on group ranked PvP instead of solo ranked. I feel like a lot of the community does have talented players that could excel in a group ranked environment if they give it a little bit of effort and try and learn. But with solo ranked granting the same rewards as group ranked while also being slightly easier to climb in, I don't see people gravitating towards the group ranked scene, and it's going to stay dead until BioWare addresses the fact that solo ranked is the predominant ranked factor. And I don't like the fact that they do a lot of their balance changes around solo ranked. I feel like it ruins the game as a whole.
Now, so did you ever queue I mean, did you ever like queue getting solo ranked, or you've always been?
No, I did solos a lot back in season 7 through 9. I did a lot of solo ranked. It's really good for keeping mechanically sound, really good for maintaining your skill set. Obviously, it doesn't offer the same perspective of the game as group rank does, but it is a good, useful tool for players to stay sharp.
Yeah.
And I did queue to a high rating in season 9. I believe I was 1600 on several characters at least. Um, I don't really take solo ranked as seriously as group ranked. Obviously, there's a lot of players that are much better at that particular bracket than I am, and I'm not going to sit here and criticize people for only playing solo ranked. I just wish that they would de-emphasize solo ranked as the main bracket and focus more on group ranked.
Yeah, that would be, you know, I'd have three other carrying
Oh,
echoes. So okay, so what would you say your proudest achievement has been in SWORD or any game for that matter?
mm, proudest achievement. I'm gonna stick to Star Wars because I feel like that's a good topic for us to stay on. Probably when I helped Gilgamesh get his top 3 at the end of season 9. We queued a gauntlet of fours matches on Satele versus several teams, and it ended up being like a 5 hour queue session going till like 4 o'clock in the morning. But we got him the last like 60 rating he needed at like 2400 to get him into the top 3 slot for Juggernaut that season.
Oh, nice.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And so, does he still play the game?
Gilgamesh, yes and no. uh Everybody on my team still maintains Star Wars like installed on their computer, but most of us are playing different games. I believe most of them are playing Final Fantasy at the moment.
Oh, Final Fantasy 14.
Yes, ma'am.
I know. I need to get back in there and try that game again. Um,
It's really fun.
Now, have you seen any significant changes in SWTOR though in the community since you've been streaming?
Uh, as far as streaming, no, not necessarily. People don't really talk in my chat. They're mostly there to see me act a fool. They don't really talk with me too much in my stream chat. It's turned as far as like community goes, just from perception. Since I've been playing since 3.0 basically launched. I don't want to say it's gotten more toxic because there's always been that level in the game, but as the community grows smaller and smaller, it becomes much more easy to direct your distaste towards certain groups. So if I was going to say if I've noticed any change, it's that the game feels a lot more clicky than it used to. I used to have a ton of friends back in the day. Like I would log in and do stuff with a different group of people every single day. Whereas now it feels like I kind of just only do things with certain people and I don't really branch out.
And that would be, I mean, with the community, the Switcher community is actually very small in comparison to other games. So it would be nice if people were just, we all love the game. We should just all, help one another. That would be. Uh,
Hmm.
now, in this community, I know this might be a hard question, and I like to ask it just because I want to get your thoughts. So, so we're talking in the Switcher community. Is there anybody that you've been inspired by, or you can say that you've inspired?
Uh, I've definitely, I don't know if I would use inspired as the word. Mentored and taught would probably be better words. Because I didn't need inspiration to enjoy the game. Like, I have enjoyed it for a very long time before I started doing anything competitive. But if I was going to point to anybody who really helped me grow in the game, it would be my friend John, who's been my longtime Force teammate for like 3 years now.
And have you helped others that you know what, really help this person become a better player? Whatever.
Definitely. Everybody knows who Ruining Lives is, right?
Yes.
Everybody knows. Yeah, those guys used to be dog shit, like really bad at the game. And then they started scrimming versus my team at the time, which is me, Valek, Poison, and John. And
Oh
those
wow.
guys made massive steps in improvement in about 4 or 5 months going into season 9. And I'm pretty sure everybody knows exactly who Ruining Lives is in season 9, considering they were probably the most dominant team in North America, if not the world, for about 8 months. They were smashing everybody. Those guys definitely, I feel like we helped a lot. If I was going to point to an individual, Sympathy and InstaWorld are two of the upcoming younger talents in the Force scene right now. They did a lot of games with us on Starforge. They're two very talented players, and I believe they're going to have a bright future if they keep working hard at the game.
Yeah, I've definitely heard of them. So yes, they do definitely ruin my life. If they're on, if I'm in a regs, I'm like, cease. Where are you? Go kill them all. Um, okay, so let's see. Are there any other projects or any events that you'd like to maybe host or be part of in the future? Like maybe even a dueling tournament or anything like that, just for fun?
I'm not a big fan of duels, as most people know, but I would like to organize more kickball events on Starforge, more social events that are PvP related to try and get more community involvement. It's tough to do that considering my schedule, but it would be wonderful to get like a 20 to 24 man kickball roster going and having a bunch of games being played all night. Those I don't know if anybody's ever had like a night where they've done a lot of kickball with a big group, but it can be a lot of fun, like a lot of fun.
Well, if you take a noob, I want to come.
Moves are welcome. It's one of the best places to learn how to actually grow as a
Yes.
Force player.
And
Definitely.
I really think that that's especially in like the old timers, let's just say, um, that have been playing the game for a very long time. I don't know. I look to like I keep bringing up Cease because he's an amazing player. I mean, nobody could say otherwise. Really couldn't if they know him. And it's nice when someone can mentor you, right? Can tell you, hey, this is what you need. And I think everybody wants to be a better player, right? And there are some people that think that they're the best player, right? But they're really not, right? But there is people like myself I know that want to learn more about the game, such as raiding. Now, have you ever done any PvP or PvE? I'm sorry, excuse me, PvE like raids, nim raids?
Yeah, I've done some nightmare content. I got a bunch of friends in the PvE, I guess, scene. I don't really put it as my focus because I typically I save Star Wars as my PvP game. I always raided in WoW, and then
Yeah.
I PvP'd in Star Wars, and I never really wanted to push myself as a PvEer in this game because I've always enjoyed the PvP much more.
Yeah, the PvP in this game is great, and
Do you
Um,
mind if I ask, since you brought up that point, do you just not enjoy the PvP in WoW at the time, or did you just not try it?
PvP in WoW is a lot different now. Oh, I just got AFK lag. PvP in WoW right now is much, much different than when I started.
Yeah, I
Because
was there back all the way to Burning Crusade Wrath. I remember those days. Those were the good days, but I'm just curious, is it because WoW's PvP overall has gotten worse as time has gone on? Is that why you stick to Star Wars for PvP?
uh, yes, WoW is much simpler now than it was 3 or even 4 years ago, and Star Wars is still mechanically the same game it was when I started playing. A lot of it's still very similar to what it was, and it makes it really easy to take breaks and return, and it still be familiar and enjoyable. And as long as they maintain that mechanical core that keeps Star Wars interesting for me, I don't think I'm going to be leaving the game.
Nice. I'm glad to hear that.
yeah. And some of the members that I'm familiar with some of your members on your team. Valik is actually a mod in my stream.
Valek is no longer one of my teammates, unfortunately, but he's still a very good friend. I love Valek. He's a great dude.
Yeah. And Milo, don't, which is his little. But
I
anyways,
have not met his dog yet.
you have not. Someone should
I've
put
not met his dog
exclamation
yet.
Milo in the chat so you can see him later. Um, but I also am familiar with Poison as well. So, oh, they're an amazing player.
Yeah, we had a pretty dominant team back in season 8 and 9.
So I think that's all the questions that I have, but I'm sure like C score other
Well, I've already
questions.
asked a few, so see if you got any, go for it.
Any specific questions? Fortunately, no, I don't.
He's like, I know,
Uh,
Kai. I already know the answer. Oh, how do I ask it? Well, is there anybody in
I mean,
chat?
Well, I
Actually,
mean,
now that I think about it, could say if you were to be given, like, I don't know, if they asked for like feedback for solo ranked and how to make solo ranked better, what would you say?
I would remove top threes immediately. I feel like it puts a certain kind of pressure on every player that queues into solo ranked that's unnecessary. Uh, and I believe that those are apex rewards that should be reserved for the highest point of competition. I would make the game focus on matchmaking a little bit more because currently the matchmaking system favors higher elo players. Once you get above a certain point, the system pairs you with other higher elo players. It becomes much easier to climb, but also implement a system that focuses on class balancing towards like composition. Because how many matches have you loaded in where the other team has like 2 mercs, an operative, and a marauder, and then you're stuck with like an assassin, a marauder, maybe a jug, or like an operative, and it's just a clear comp advantage. There's not a lot you can do in that situation. Not saying you can't make it
Yeah,
work and win, but
it's
obviously
hard.
when you take the average player and pair it against the average player, certain classes perform better than others when put in that situation. I would find a way to try and minimize that being an impact on the game as a whole. It's a very difficult thing to do because solo ranked is inherently going to be flawed due to the small pool of players that do participate in it. You can't have a matchmaking system based on rating when you'll have an 800 rated player versus a 1600 rated player in the same match almost every game you play. Nobody wins in that situation. Higher rated guy loses more points because he's losing. Lower rated guy doesn't gain much because he's playing with a higher rated player, and he loses more for playing with a higher rated player on his team. Things like that really just make the system not work, and there's not a lot they can really do about that.
And if people leave round one, let's say they've already automatically lost because some of the games are just auto losses in the spawn area, which is unfortunate, and some people just don't want to try. You run into that. Some people will just leave, meaning that there'll only be one person to go against, or there might not even be an enemy team anymore. And the team that rolled a better team only gets +1. That still happens to this day.
Games like that, I feel if you had a larger player pool, you would immediately you would obviously rating protect the team that had players that left, and the other team but there's not much you can do. They're going to get +1 regardless. But in a game like this that would be so easily abused because the player pool is so
Yeah.
small, you can't implement protection systems because players are just going to abuse them. So that's kind of
I
like
just,
you can't. That's a lose-lose for BioWare because there's nothing they can do about that. With the game being so small.
I just feel like the rating should be static, even if somebody leaves or not.
I feel like solo rank shouldn't even be about rating. I would like to see rewards completely removed from the bracket, like entirely. It would make it so much more fun for everybody involved because you could literally just queue. You could still earn rank tokens, like just don't give flares or like weapons and stuff. Make that group ranked specific. Give the
I
community a
would,
reason to do stuff together, and then you can have solo ranked as your random bracket that you can just play.
I would only enjoy that if it was more or less, uh, less about just off healing and surviving, rather than whatever. Because most people that play burst DPS aren't able to actually do good DPS, meaning there's no advantages of actually playing that. You're just gonna get outlived.
Well, I feel like you're a victim of the situation in that if it's an all DPS match, the other team gets like 2 off healers and a couple of tanky DPS like a Marauder. That's a tough situation to be in, right? But you take that same team and you swap it in with a tank or a tank healer, like it's a totally
Yeah.
different dynamic. So this goes back to what I was saying, balancing the game around solo ranks. Like I don't think off healing is in a healthy place. I think certain classes being able to do certain amounts of numbers is ridiculous and shouldn't be possible. I'd like to see a more emphasis on lining your damage up properly. Like stealth classes in particular, I'd like to see Deception get its damage back. Nerf some of its like range CC, bring it down to a manageable level. Because right now, if Deception had good damage on top of its control, it'd be insane, right? But currently in solo ranked, it's kind of a joke because people just kill your Sin. They don't do enough damage in the opener to really make it meaningful, and then either you die, you have to run away and stealth heal, right? It's not fun for anybody. Operatives are in a different boat. They're not a good target to tunnel. You don't want to sit on an operative, but if you don't, they off heal their team. They get to do what they want. It's really annoying, right? Those are things you can't really do anything about for solo ranked from a balance standpoint, because if you go to the opposite situation in a 4v4, Sins become a lot better. When you can protect them, they can abuse their insane control. Operatives get worse because they don't really have a strong defensive. They don't do well in tank healer matches. Their damage output is lackluster. Their off healing becomes a lot less meaningful. So that's what I would say to mismatches in solo ranked. Those situations happen because the game is imbalanced in solo ranked. It's the nature of
Yeah.
RNG. But you put it in a controlled environment and see what happens when players that can play around those things happen. It's a lot different. Things become better, things become worse. A great example of that would be Mercenary. In Season 8, before they did the God buffs to Merc, Merc was viable in 4v4. It was actually pretty decent. It had absolutely banana damage. You could global people with a Merc comp. Sniper Merc was one of the strongest compositions in Season 8. It was insane. But then they did all the insane changes to it because, like, obviously in Season 8 they weren't good in solo ranked, right? They didn't have all the crazy defensives. But going into Season 9, they gave it what, 3 defensive buffs, 3 defensive cooldown buffs in one
Gave it
patch, and
a new ability,
and
Reflect,
it
that also
com-
healed them.
completely changed the meta, right? It was Sork meta in solo ranked all day long. Everybody was playing Sork. It was the best. It could off heal. It had shields. It had CC. It had damage. It was crazy. You bring Merc in, all of a sudden the meta is completely different. Merc's absolutely dumpster Sorks. They've got nets. When you have 3 Mercs versus 2 Sorks, what do you do? You get double netted and you're dead. They can just sit on you. It's not a lot. So things like that, that's tough to do for solo rank. You can't balance the game around a bracket that's RNG based. You have to balance it around what players are going to do as a group. That's the only way to actually make a game that makes sense. Like,
Do you think, sorry to cut you off, but do you think
go
maybe
ahead.
just adding solo ranked was a mistake? Because I'm sure you know in WoW, they never added the solo ranked. It was always just 2v2, 3v3, or 5v5.
I
And
don't
they
think
kept it that way.
adding solo ranked was a bad idea. What solo ranked stands for is, it's great. It's a solo queue. That's what it is. It's a solo queue into a ranked environment. It's fantastic. If it didn't give rewards, if it didn't have an emphasis on achievement, I feel like solo ranked is a good place for people to learn the game from a very basic concept, very core situation. You learn how to play your class, you learn how other classes function, you learn how to play in a ranked environment, right? That's what solo ranked should do. That's the only purpose it should serve.
Yeah.
Because when you take the best Force player and you compare it to the best Solar Rank player, and you just look at it from a game knowledge point of view, how classes interact at the highest level with the best teams playing versus one another, that Force player is going to have about 10 times more game knowledge than the best Solar Rank player. And that's the divide, right? That's the big divide. You don't learn the subtle nuances to high level ranked PvP from solo ranked. It's a completely different. It's like playing two different games. Honestly, it really truly is. So
Just definitely hugely different.
yeah, so I would put more of an emphasis on making solo ranked a learning bracket. Nerf the rewards that it gives. Don't hand out top threes. Make it like a token farming machine. That'd be fantastic. That's fine. They don't want to make rewards competitive anyway, because everybody can buy them regardless. Even if you're 800 rated, if you play enough, you'll get them. There's no reason to give out titles and rewards in solo ranked. Make that group ranked only. Put an emphasis on the community coming together and doing stuff as a group. It's an MMO for fuck's sake. Like, make people play together. That's what they should be doing. Not enabling players to go off by themselves and
Cough, cough,
ignore
wow.
the core concept of what the game is designed around, which is being an MMO.
I have a question in regard to the leaving of matches. My first game was League of Legends, and I queued ranked a lot. And if someone were to leave a match, they lose rating, they lose elo.
Mhm.
That's something that doesn't happen in this game.
It does.
Oh,
It does happen, but
it's a
this
loss
is
of a game, right? Only, but okay, so you lose the game, but in League of Legends, you're not able to queue, and if you continually leave the games, actually get banned. I mean,
there
there.
is a lever buster for solo ranked as well.
Oh, there is. Okay.
Yeah. Um, as far as getting banned, I do believe that I would agree with that. If you're constantly throwing matches to skew the outcome of certain matchups, you definitely deserve to be banned. But the only issue with that is BioWare doesn't like banning players, blatant
It's
abusers.
also hard to tell
That too.
most of that. Like, it's really hard to tell. They have to actually play the game and see, like, in these games, spectate them and see blatant stuff like this.
Yeah, I mean, like I know a friend of mine. He was in Puerto Rico, and he kept getting DC'd. So he kind of constantly was getting kind of this low priority queue. I don't know if it Legends. And it wasn't because he was leaving these matches. And this was actually not even ranked matches. Not sure. But just for leaving, got into a low priority queue a lot of times because of the internet. And so I was just wondering if that was something that would help with, because I think one of the, and this is just the assumption, like I don't know, just I don't queue enough,
Yeah.
but I feel like some people say, oh hey, let's queue, but like you said, they tried to skew the outcome of the game because their friend is on the other team, etc.
So the difference between League of Legends and Star Wars in terms of how they punish cheaters or leavers or abusers or any of those things, a lot of their systems are automated. They have a massive, massive player base. They can't investigate every report physically, so they use an automated system that detects players that have left games multiple times in a recent amount of time, and it automatically puts a ban on them. Certain keywords said in chat, that's a ban as well. Things like that they can afford to do because their player base is, millions and millions of people. Star Wars has probably got about 60 active solo rank players. So they need to focus more on the reporting system. However, obviously that can be abused too with such a small community. Like one dude with 20 friends would be like, "Yo, I don't like this guy. Let's report him because he's
Yeah,
bad at the
yeah,
game. Not because he's inherently doing anything wrong. He's just bad at playing the game. So when he queues and loses, they all spam report him. He gets improperly punished, right?
yeah,
Um, I'd like to see Bioware be a little bit more hands-on with the rank scene. I know that's tough to do because they don't have a massive staff, and
right,
things like monitoring every solo rank game would be incredibly taxing on their already busy schedule.
yeah,
Um, so there's a lot of fixes that you could propose to make solo rank better, but a lot of those systems simply won't work due to the low population of the game, and it's difficult to implement systems that work because players won't like them.
yeah,
Like say you get an automated system put in where if a certain someone leaves, say 3 matches within an hour, they get a 30-minute timeout. And if it consistently happens, it goes to a day, a week, a month, permaban, things like that. Players wouldn't like that because what if it got bad internet, like you said, right? They have to appeal directly to Bioware to fix that problem. That takes up more time, more resources. Now the
Yeah.
player's unhappy because they can't play due to something out of their control. Um, it's difficult to fix solo rank. That's why I would suggest just de-escalating the importance of it and putting more of an emphasis on something that you can control, which is group ranks, because every player in there wants to be there.
Yeah.
They're with the people they want to play with,
Yeah.
and it's a lot less of a focus on the weakest link and more of a focus on playing the game.
Right. How can we work together in MMO?
Exactly. And you're not going to have a bunch of falsified reports of players doing X, Y, or Z because they don't like them or this and that. Like, it's going to be more focused on what's actually happening rather than a really skewed amount of reports based on irrelevant information.
Yeah. Well, Cease, do you have any other questions?
No, not
Score?
directed.
I feel like I did, but I don't remember right now. So
Hey, you're wearing the same outfit. I just noticed, but different colors.
no, he's got different pants on.
Oh.
He's wearing a skirt.
It's a kilt. Get it right.
It's a man skirt.
It's a
Okay.
kilt,
Well,
get it
I mean,
right.
I'm looking at the top part. Sorry, from a distance. I feel kind of out of place. I'm wearing a dress. Anyways, I want to ask chat. Does anybody have any questions for Kai? We are actually. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're hanging out at his stronghold. I'm not looking at the pants. No, I'm not looking at the pants. I know, so I'm looking at. They look like dudes.
She only looks at waist up.
But yes, we are at the, I would say, the most recent stronghold that was released in Star Wars, which is Rishi. And yes, if you ever get that kickball or anything, or if anybody out there is listening and they want to start that up, sign me up. I'll just have.
Oh, I remember what I wanted to ask.
Oh.
Kai, since you mentioned Overwatch before, I feel like this is also something that really affects the way Overwatch is played, especially in a solo competitive way, or even just in quick play. I'm sure you've noticed the toxicity in that game. It's mostly because no one feels like they can do anything, and I feel like that's just them being a victim of it being a team game, and you shouldn't play it solo.
Games like Overwatch, obviously I don't play this game competitively. I've only seen it from the sidelines, but just watching the professionals play, it's an incredibly coordinated game. It requires a lot of people being on the same page to succeed. So a solo player going in by themselves expecting to, how large are the teams in the game? 6, 5?
6, yes, 6v6.
Going in with the expectation of 1v6 isn't going to happen. And I think that's difficult for people to grasp at first because a lot of games these days cater to the solo player. They really
Well, you
do.
got to remember, Caibek, that it came out, how many years ago? Like 3 or 4 years ago. At this point, I think the player base knows they can't 1v6, obviously, right? Unless you do certain combinations like Nano Dragon Blade, right? Just for an example. But I think the frustration comes from the fact that solo players feel like they're being hindered by their team not doing their job. And, they can't control that, obviously. I feel like it's a very similar situation to solo ranked in this game, right? It's a roll of the dice. If you have good teammates, you're going to win. If not, or you just have a good comp, then you're also going to win as compared to having just maybe a good comp of bad players.
So this goes back to what I was saying earlier about solo ranked. In a game that's designed around winning as a team, when you fail as a team, it's a lot easier to blame outside factors than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You should not go into any solo. Like, here's the thing, dude. This is what drives me nuts about solo ranked situations. Those brackets are not designed for you to always succeed. Matchmaking systems are intentionally designed to give you a 50-50 win ratio. That's what they do. You are supposed to win just as many matches as you lose, and you're supposed to lose just as many matches as you win. So when you go in with the expectation to go on like a 60, 70, 80% win ratio, those are unrealistic expectations because the system is designed to find the perfect balance of when you win just as much as you lose. That is your skill level. That is where you're at. So when players get to that point, like League of Legends is a great example of this. When you get to a certain point where you cannot progress, but you're not necessarily falling behind, that's your skill. That's where you're at. When you get better, you'll move up. Because it doesn't take a lot to move up. But when you go from a 50%, like all it takes is a 51% win ratio, dude, to start moving up.
Yep.
People don't look at it like that. They look at it as, wow, I'm winning and losing just as much as the other. I'm not going anywhere. That's your skill, dude. Like people don't want to accept the fact that they're not better than they are. That's the woe of being in a solo group. And
Yep.
you can't take the outcome of a solo situation and apply that as your actual skill, because there's a lot of factors involved that, like you said, you don't have control over. That's where team-oriented stuff comes into play. When people play these team-focused games in a solo ranked bracket and then never have the success they want to have, that is completely their fault, because there is a bracket that is designed to allow you to choose your teammates, choose who you play against, choose when you play and how you play. When people avoid doing that and they subject themselves to the solo ranked and then complain about all those factors that they don't have control over, it's literally just a big forehead moment, because you can literally fix all of that by picking your teammates, going to a competitive bracket, find some friends. It's an MMO, guys. Find some friends. Go to a bracket that you have control over. Same thing with Overwatch. There's a team bracket. I'm pretty sure there's a team bracket where you
There
can
is
play
no
with.
team bracket, but there is, you can queue with friends. They just have to be similar rating to you, essentially.
There you go. There you go. That's all it's about. It's finding your skill level in the matchmaking system. And if you want to subject yourself to the woes of a solo queue, and you're going to have to accept the fact that you're not always going to get good teammates. Subject yourself to the group rank bracket, you're going to have to accept the fact that some teams are just going to be better than you. But that's something you can control, because guess what? If you play enough, you're going to get better. And if you keep playing with the same people, you're going to get really good. And eventually, it becomes easier to move up in that bracket. Whereas with solo ranked, it is what it is. It's the same thing in this game as it is in Overwatch. Like you cannot look at outside factors you can't control over and expect to influence them some way when you're accepting that you're going to queue into that. Like that's what it is. Solo ranked is solo ranked. Group ranked is group ranked. It's the same in any competitive game, regardless of what it is. If it's designed to be a team game and you try to play it by yourself, you're gonna struggle. Period.
Fair enough.
Well,
I spread that message around.
I just want to add, I don't know how serious of a question this is, but I'm going to take it very serious. Grizzly wants to know what's your favorite pizza.
It is gonna be barbecue sauce with bacon and sausage, my guy. Italian sausage.
There you go.
I need you to say that again. I didn't hear it.
Barbecue pizza with Italian sausage and bacon. It has to be deep dish. None of that thin crust nonsense.
Thin crust.
Get out of here with your thin crust.
Oh my
Gotta
god.
be that thick crust, dude.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Score's a
You
big
like pan
pizza
or
eater.
hand tossed?
Pan.
All right. This is my guy right here.
There you go. You guys can share some pizza. So, is
Oh,
there
yeah.
any other questions for Kai before we move on? Also, you can reach and please go give him a follow. I'm going to go ahead and give him a shout out right now. Oh, never mind. My mod did it. Thank you so much, Aramel, for being on top of that. Please go give him a follow so you can check when he goes live next. And he might be playing regs with Cease, and I might just be there DPSing. Because don't you heal sometimes?
I play just about everything.
Oh, okay.
I've
Got
if
a
anybody
preference?
has any questions about my ranked experience, I've got a lot of information on that too. I've played tank, healer, and DPS all to tier
Well,
1.
here's another question for you. I was actually kind of discussing this with Cease before regarding dueling, but this is more of just I know you guys hate dueling, but I'm a big fan of dueling simply because of my old WoW days where I would just go outside Orgrimmar and duel people while waiting for BGs. But as far as the reason why I like dueling is it teaches you to be self-sufficient, but you guys are right when it's not going to teach you how to play in a team. That's obvious, right? So would you recommend starting to learn how to be self-sufficient first, or would you rather someone, as a new player, just get into a team and start learning together?
Dueling is a great tool to learn the game. Same as solo ranked. You learn a lot of class interaction. You learn how classes use their cooldowns. You learn what their cooldowns are, how they deal damage. All these things are very important to learn before you set foot in a rank queue, right?
Yeah.
Dueling has its place, in the beginning of your journey as a player. Dueling is where I started in WoW as well. Like I was just a little ret paladin standing outside of Orgrimmar getting my ass kicked for about 2 years before I got good, right? So things like that are great tools to begin with. But as you become a better player and you start wanting to expand your knowledge of the game, dueling becomes a lot less important because it doesn't serve any more purpose other than learning. Like once you understand how to duel, you understand how classes work. Like once you get the information that dueling provides, there's no more reason to do it except for fun or to like settle some petty disagreement in a really arbitrary way. That's what it
All the
is.
time.
That's what it is. Like what do you want? No, that's what it is. Um, it has its place. I think it's a good thing for the game. Do people need to take it as seriously as some people do? Absolutely not. It is
No.
obviously not a competitive aspect of the game. It's just not.
Well, you didn't really answer the other half of my question, but that's okay.
What was the other half? No, explain it to me. If I missed
Well,
it.
it's just would you prefer someone learn to be a team player first or be more self-sufficient first?
Oh, focus on yourself first. You need to learn how to be a good player before you can learn how to be a great player. You gotta walk before you can run.
There you
Simple.
go. Easy peasy.
Okay, so I think we'll go ahead and wrap this segment up. Then, if there isn't any other questions, food questions included. If there's no other questions here from Score or C's, and I'm going to hand it over to C's.
All right. Since we're kind of still on the topic of it, I'll tackle amplifiers first. So they did post and they asked whether we want these in ranked PvP or not. I feel like that question should be retracted, and they should say, should it affect PvP as a whole? I don't know how everybody feels, but I'm gonna give you guys one example. If amplifiers were to go through and they affected PvP, lifesteal for example, which is very easy to roll 5% on your enhancements. It did not take me very many tries. I tried it many times. I even re-rolled from 5% to 5% within like 3 rolls. It's actually really easy to get 35% lifesteal in total, meaning whatever amount of damage you're able to dish out, anywhere from 10k all the way up to 20k, that's actual reasonable AoE numbers that you can push in regs. That's meaning you're going anywhere from 5,000, 3,000 to maybe even 7,000 HPS. All by yourself, without DCDs, without anything. That amount of HPS means that you're going to be topping yourself off, that a healer is most likely unneeded, unless you get CC'd. And that's just the beginning. There's a lot other broken amplifiers that would really break the game. So with that in mind, I hope that they don't put amplifiers into the game that actually affect PvP. I feel like some of them are actually really good, and they would help, like doing PvE and whatnot. I do like some of the crafting ones. Hopefully they keep the what do you call it, emphasis on crafting and making it valuable and still profitable. They did that in 5.0. Early 5.0, I spent a ton of money right before it launched on my companions and whatnot. And I made a ton of money. I made some of the first, I think it was 240s or something like that, or I don't remember. But I did give Kai some at the time. I spent a lot of time crafting, and that made me so much money. Every bit of money that I put into it, I returned and got even more. Unfortunately, 5.0 was really expensive. They eventually made crafting unprofitable, and I ended up spending a lot of my money making 236 ox and 240 ox. I never saw any return from that point on, which really sucked. So going into my next point, crafting is being changed. So scavenging, for example, is like your main gallery. You only get green stuff from scavenging. You don't get anything else. Well, that's being changed. You're now getting blue tiers and purple tiers. And, like slicing, that has 3 different tiers. You're still going to get those. Or actually, it might only have 2. I believe it's blue and purple. But regardless, you're going to have 3 tiers of regular base mats, and then you're going to have the special mats. Which means that you have to have a ton of green to make a few blue, and a few blue to make a purple. And a purple is what you're going to use to make pretty much anything. So that just kind of like expands the time that you're crafting, and makes materials worthwhile, or not worthwhile, but more, and it's worth more, but it's still gonna like be a drawn out experience rather than a good one. If you are going into 6.0 and looking to craft, scavenging, underworld trading, and slicing would probably be the best 3 that you can run for money. Especially, it'll probably be used for everything. Augments, aug kits.
Okay.
Excuse me, I had to burp. Then the last thing I would want to cover, since there's not too much to talk about, we're mostly waiting for them to talk about the changes they want. They haven't really said much. Like overall, they've been like posting synergy, like nonsense kind of like synergy. Some of it's cool, but they're not really like, hey, we recognize that you were reporting this is broken and all this other stuff, and we're gonna nerf this. They haven't announced any of that, so we don't know what's coming. For all we know, everything that came on PTS is going live, and we're just gonna have to deal with some busted things, which I will make a video and tell you kind of like what's better, what you should rush, how you should rush it. Number one thing I can tell you off the top of my head, tacticals are probably gonna be the first thing you want to go for if you can. But we have 7 days till 6.0 comes, which means whatever you have in game right now is most likely going to be worthless here soon. Your
Hooray.
isotopes, your CMTs, your unassembled components, your MDCs will still carry over. Obviously, all these materials will carry over, except for command tokens and UACs. I believe they'll be converted to credits. However, a really low amount of credits. So you should spend your command tokens if you could be bothered to buy either command EXP bonuses or buy like 230 gear, hold on to it for 2 hours and then vendor it. And UACs you could buy 236s and then hold on to it and vendor it too. Would be a way to get rid of that. There's also decoration vendors for the MDCs if you have those and you want to use those, so you can use your UACs to get MDCs and then buy the deco. Some of it's actually really cool, so it's not a terrible way to use your UACs. I don't know if the price of those will be lowered or changed coming 6.0 though. I never actually looked, but I would imagine they would. All your command boost will turn into renown, and they will also be stackable, so that will also be really nice. And the only problem with that is that, you know how it's really easy to level your command. I think it's like 6,000 XP or something to get a command level after 300. I believe that's turning into 16,000 per level, and it's always going to be static. It's just going to be a lot of XP for each level. I don't know if they finalized that, but that's probably what it's going to be like. So every command boost that you have is going to be very useful. And I think for the most part, that's pretty much all I have to say for right now. We just kind of have to wait for 6.0 and whatever else information that they give us.
Are you done making your preparations for 6.0, my guy?
I need to get on my pubs and spend my command tokens, but other than that, I think so.
Cool. Well, if you're done, I can get into our whole Blizzard oopsie that I'm sure everyone has probably heard in passing at this point. I'm curious if you guys, have any of you heard what's going on with Blizzard recently? No, yes, maybe.
Seen it, and then I also saw that they're like, "Oh, we didn't do it for that reason," and I'm just like,
Yeah, I'll go into
"You
more
think we're
details.
stupid? Do you think we're stupid?" It's like
Okay,
the whole
alright, you're getting all
fiasco of
ahead.
like, do you have a phone, or do you not have a phone? What?
Yeah.
Do you guys not have phones? That's what it was. But
Don't you
yeah,
guys have
go ahead.
phones? Okay, so if you have not heard about what Blizzard has done, on a Hearthstone stream, a professional Hearthstone player named Blitzchung actually donned a mask to support the protest in Hong Kong. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. I'm sure you guys can look it up if you're interested. But he said, "Liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our time." And what this caused was, it caused Blizzard to ban him for a year, and they reduced his prize pool money that he was rightfully owed all the way down to $0. And they actually decided to hide behind a rule that's very vaguely written. And I'm just going to read it here so you guys can know what I'm talking about. It says the rule is 2019. Okay, so the rule is engaging in any act in Blizzard's sole discretion brings you into public disrepute, offends a portion or group of the public, or otherwise damages Blizzard's image will result in removal from Grandmasters, which is professional Hearthstone, and reduction of the player's prize total to zero US dollars. In addition to other remedies which may be provided for under the handbook and Blizzard's website terms. So they basically said you're making us look bad, so we're going to remove you for a year, and then you get no prize money essentially. And the reason Blizzard did this was obviously to pander to the Chinese government. And I'm sure you all know how great that is. The Chinese government is fantastic. It's a totalitarianism. If you don't know what that is, more than welcome to look it up. I'm not going to explain it here. Otherwise, we're going to be here all day. So afterwards, it's been a while. Everyone's gotten pissed at them. There's actually a group of students from I want to say they're like a group of 3 in the Hearthstone scene the day afterwards. They actually showed up a sign saying something like "Free Hong Kong, boycott Blizz." Essentially, after that, everyone in the community, I would say, almost all Blizzard games have kind of decided to boycott Blizzard just because of this. Because Blizzard is pandering to China, and this is a violation of free speech, if you guys can't tell. This is within free speech. Hong Kong has been basically a democracy until recently, and the protesters are fighting to stay as a democracy. They don't want to live under the Chinese government. So this is big yikes. If you're really curious as well, Blizzard recently has decided to reduce the ban on Blitzchung for this offense. It's down to 6 months now, along with the casters. And, the casters were also banned. Just so you know. I'm getting a little lightheaded here. Sorry. So really quick, I'm just going to recap really quick. So Blitzchung was banned, and there was 2 casters that were on the stream with him, and they were also punished just for being there. They didn't say anything. They didn't support him in any way. They put their heads down to try and, avoid some consequence. They were punished anyway. And Blizzard didn't want to work with them anymore. But recently, Blizzard has come out. They're kind of being lenient, quote unquote, but they're not really being lenient. They're reducing the ban on the casters and the player to 6 months, and they're giving Blitzchung his money back that he was rightfully owed. And they also decided to say that this decision that they made had nothing to do with China. So it was a bullshit statement, essentially. Because even, let's say that this really had nothing to do with China. The implications, regardless of what they said, just means that they stand against free speech. It doesn't matter if it had nothing to do with China. It was an attack on free speech, essentially. So,
well, to be fair, it's a company protecting its profits. Like, you can look at it that way, and you're right. It is a violation of free speech, but he's using their platform to express his views, and as the provider of the platform, their profits, their reputation is on the line. They're completely within their rights to protect that. Do I think that they should have made an example of the way they did? No. That's a bit harsh, considering 6 months for somebody not having income is a long time. Most of these professional players don't have additional sources of income, right? So
not that I know of, no.
That's fairly rough. But to say that this is like Blizzard absolutely annihilating free speech and this is them pandering to China, well, you gotta remember, China is one of their biggest markets. That's why, do you guys have phones? That whole meme with the Diablo Mobile, that was literally for China. That's what that was. So it's a 2-part thing, right? They're protecting themselves as a company while also protecting their profits. Do I think that Blizzard is anti-American and they hate free speech? No. Do I think that they should have come down as harshly on an individual like Blitzchung in the way they did? No. Do I understand why? Yes. Do I support it? I don't. But for people to get on this whole, this is outrage culture at its finest. People are jumping to extreme conclusions and blaming Blizzard for all of these things that they're simply not, based off of one situation.
Well, I'll raise you this, Caibek. Sorry to cut you off. Blizzard has had a really bad history of, I would say, being very arrogant with its consumer and its player base. I'm sure you've noticed this in the times you've been playing WoW, especially with modern WoW. We try to tell them what we want. I'm sure you know this, and it's taken this long just to get classic. And Blizzard has always had this attitude of we know what's best, you know, and the player base gets really fed up with that. Even if this is just a reaction on outrage culture, Blizzard has had this coming for a long time. This is probably just, the straw that broke the camel's back in this case. But
It's definitely understandable why people would be upset at them for this situation. The Hong Kong thing is not just affecting the gaming industry. The NBA is also involved as well. The U.S. government, like it's larger than just Blitzchung getting banned. And now, is it significant? Absolutely, but nobody gave a crap about China's influence on how things function in the world until it became a mainstream thing, right?
Yeah.
China's been doing this for years. Google is one of the biggest censorship models for them in the world. Nobody gives a crap about Google doing that. Any major internet browsing system.
The interesting thing was, the other interesting thing is it's not just Google, and as you said, it's basically we're basically being a victim of capitalism at this point because, as you said, these companies want to protect their profit, but it's at the point where it's all the big companies in America doing this that we're all just victims of capitalism at that point because they'll just go out of their way to protect them.
This is a big topic. It's a very political topic as well. I don't really want to harp on it too much because now you're getting into like people's opinions on how things should be done. But in general, corporations will do what's in their best interest to protect their bottom line. And I feel like that's what Blizzard's doing in this situation. The NFL did this with Colin Kaepernick a couple of years ago as well. Like, it's the exact same situation. Player using their platform to express their views. Are his views necessarily wrong? No. He's allowed to have his opinion, but is he allowed to use somebody else's platform to express those views that will also harm their product? That's what this argument's all about. And you have to look at it from both perspectives to understand why people are acting the way they are.
Yeah. Well, regardless, it was not a good move, in my opinion. Obviously, I understand why they did it. You bring up very good points playing the devil advocate here, but at the same time, I don't care. I'm just going to be honest. I don't care what Blizzard's opinion on the matter is, even if it's, involving China or not. I just don't agree that you should, at least in this case, censor this guy. But, it's up to your personal opinion, and I'm not trying to persuade anyone on that. I mean, the other funny thing is, well, go ahead.
It's not wrong of you to expect somebody to stand up and pioneer, social justice for something. That's totally understandable. It just comes down to who's willing to take the financial hit to really say what, people want to say about stuff. I agree with you wanting somebody to step up. Like, why not Blizzard, Why not? Like, you're such a large company at this point, you can get away with murder and not, disappear entirely. You may take a hit, but it's picking which hill you want to die on, I guess.
Well, there's other points I'll bring up with you later. I don't think I should say them on stream because I feel like that might rile up some people, and I don't want to do that. But as far as kind of continuing on the whole Blizzard situation in Hong Kong really quick, I'm sure you've noticed that there's actually a lot of protesters trying to make May a symbol of the protests to hopefully get the Chinese government to censor Overwatch, essentially. Which I think would be quite hilarious.
It's actually really creative.
Yeah.
It would be in line with how they do things.
Mm-hmm. Since I'm sure everyone knows that the president of China actually hates Winnie the Pooh. So don't go sending that over there, by the way. Yeah, that's kind of cool.
He's not gonna like some of my my.
Well, I don't actually think Twitch is allowed in China, so I actually don't know for sure. But I know they block YouTube and Google, right? So it wouldn't surprise me if Twitch is also
they don't block
blocked.
Google. They don't block
Google. Okay. Well, I know they block YouTube.
Google's one of their biggest censorship platforms. Why would they block it?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just kind of the whole situation right now. If you're ever wondering what the whole outrage is, That's what's going on. It's kind of, in my opinion, it's probably just a case of the straw breaking the camel's back. I think people have just been fed up with Blizzard, and this is the good excuse to really get at them. So,
Yeah, agreed. It would be nice if a gaming company stood up for, the people for once instead of the bottom line.
yeah, well, I don't know. I'm sure people obviously know it's Activision Blizzard. Blizzard and Activision are one company at this point. They're not separated. Obviously, Blizzard makes the game, but those two companies merged over 10 years ago. So even if you try to say, oh, it's not Blizzard's fault, it's all Activision's fault, they're tied at the hip. So you can defend Blizzard, but it doesn't matter. You're also defending Activision, even if you do.
I mean, it comes down to shareholders and management on a lot of the decisions that we're dealing with now. As management changes and company goals change, obviously the product and the direction they want to take it also changes, and that's where it's at now.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't blame Blizzard as a whole, because I guarantee you most of the people that are employed there want the same thing we do. It's just a select few people that are driving the direction of the company as a group.
Absolutely. I mean, what can you do at that point? I mean, I'm sure people have actually heard earlier this year Blizzard had a record year and they ended up laying off like 100 staff. So, how does that make sense? They just want more money.
Well, capitalism in of itself, you're not successful if you're not growing, right?
Yeah.
Once you hit a certain point, how do you grow? By trimming the fat.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest criticism I have of Blizzard personally is just, and this applies to all gaming companies at this point, is just when is enough money enough? Because they get billions of dollars from this industry. Why do you need to keep pushing these microtransactions, these loot boxes? Why do you need to shove this down everyone's throat? And I do think it's just because, if you're not growing, as you said, you're failing.
Well, a lot of microtransactions, I don't think are necessarily bad. It's just the way that they're implemented. Like Battlefront 2 is a prime example of a point where the game is literally pay to win. You have to buy loot boxes if you want to be, competitive at any sort of level. But that was a massive outcry from the community, and that got changed. And anybody who's played Battlefront 2 now knows that it's actually a really fun game. It's fantastic.
Yep.
They're actually doing massive updates to it frequently. Like it's great.
I need to go back and play it.
And then you have games like Destiny's a good example of this. Their season pass. This is another fantastic microtransaction system. I think is really healthy. Battle passes from Fortnite is also the same thing. It's finding a way to make sure that your game stays profitable over a period of time, without implementing a system that oppresses the player. That's why they exist. Long-term profit off of a product.
I mean, people shit on Fortnite all the time, especially the Battle Pass, but if it wasn't successful, no one else would try and rip it off. You know what I mean? So, to say the Battle Pass doesn't work would be a lie.
It sure beats loot boxes. I mean, but
that's for sure.
Would anybody disagree with me on that?
Well, I mean, until they start putting the loot boxes in the Battle Pass as rewards, and then you have to buy tiers, then I get kind of a
I don't know. I like my surprise mechanics. Very enjoyable.
Yeah, let's just.
Oh yeah, that's right. They're not loot boxes. They're surprise mechanics, guys.
Let's enable gambling culture some more, guys. Let's go.
Have you actually seen the NBA? Is it 2K? No, 20. NBA 20 that's coming out next year or this year. I don't remember. It's got literal fucking what do you call it? Lottery wheel.
Buy a player, dude. Buy a player.
It's insane, dude. I mean, that's all EA, and we expect that from EA, but it's still messed up.
It is. It is. Companies taking predatory business systems, or business systems, and imposing that on the player is really, really unhealthy for the gaming community. DLC as a whole, when it first was released, like I remember back when Halo and Call of Duty got their first DLC expansions, they were like $15 for a massive amount of content, right? Like you got a lot of content for that money. Whereas now it feels like games are being shipped incomplete on purpose to put more of an emphasis on DLC. So people are okay with shipping an incomplete product and adding more later that you have to pay for as a way of maintaining profits off of that game, right? Instead of giving you a good game and developing additional content that would be worth a bigger price. It's the short term is the problem with the gaming industry. They focus on short term profit
as opposed to long term. I mean, if
Exactly.
you want to look at a good case of long term, I would probably say CD Projekt Red is really ahead of the game at this point. Obviously, because they have huge support. Obviously, from their fans, they're very upfront with them. They're kind of a no bullshit company essentially,
Uh,
and they don't mess around.
I wouldn't say they're necessarily staying ahead of the game. More or less, they're doing what companies used to do. Then it's maintaining player trust. Like you can expect them to provide you a quality product at start, and anything they add to it is going to be worth your time. Like that's how it used to be until companies started realizing that players are willing to buy early access, they're willing to pre-order, they're willing to do all these things and give you all this money before any real work has actually been completed. So a lot of Steam games that came out within the past 3 years, how many early access disasters have you bought into? I bought into
Zero.
several. PUBG is a great
Fallout?
example. Fallout,
Oh,
PUBG,
oh my.
pre-ordering in general is a terrible practice that needs to die because people abuse it, or companies abuse it, not people. Companies abuse it to take your money before they provide you with a disappointing product, and there's no way to reverse that. Things like that are terrible for the gaming industry, and that's big business at work. And I
Yeah.
don't like having big business mixed with gaming culture because it's really terrible for us as gamers to deal with that.
hmm Well, I mean, honestly, I think the worst thing that happened to the gaming industry is probably when the mobile games started taking off, and then people realized they could get so much money just by ripping off mobile game tactics and putting them in AAA quote unquote games. So, I mean, I understand pre-ordering is, it's not good except for the company, but at the same time, if I had a choice between pre-order incentives as compared to a mobile game trapped inside of a AAA game, I'd rather take the pre-order, to be honest. But then again, it's just taking the lesser of two evils.
I mean, a lot of these systems are implemented purposely because gamers, by default, are typically very addictive people. If you play a lot of video games, there's a very high chance you have a bit of an addiction to it, correct?
Yeah.
So implementing systems that are very similar to gambling, if not basically just gambling with real money, uh, it really takes advantage of those kinds of addictive personalities and really drives it home to the point that it becomes an obsession. Younger generations really get affected by this. How many times as a kid did you play a game for 9, 10, 12, 14 hours a day back when you could afford that much time? Now you toss in something like a gambling system with a loot box, and it costs money, and now if you want that item you really gotta pay a bunch into the system to finally get the item. Like they're gonna do it, and that reinforces this terrible addiction moving forward in their lives. And that's the big debate right now: is are these systems legal? Should they be legal? Like,
Well, I'm just gonna come up front, and this is from my personal experience. I must admit, I was a victim of these systems in a very bad game called El Sword. I'm just gonna throw it out. Don't try it out. Okay, it's pay to win. Don't try it out. But what I'm saying is, as a kid, when I was going through high school, even I would still say I was a kid at that point. Okay, uh, I spent way more money than I should have on that game, and I had no idea that it was so similar to gambling at that point. And most of the kids these days don't know that either. It's really up to the older generation of gamers or even their parents to realize that this shit is messed up. It's simulated gambling. Even if it's not technically gambling, if they, because they say it's technically not gambling, it still produces the same psychological effects of gambling, which really hampers, a youth of any age. So when obviously, I'm sure some people have heard that gambling addicts try to get away from gambling, and one of their ways out was gaming. Well, now that gaming is infected with gambling, how could they enjoy one of their escapes essentially? So even if this isn't real gambling, it still has the effects, and it should be treated with a modicum of restraint. I say, regardless of who says what, if it's technically gambling or not.
well, the issue is, and what a lot of people want companies to start revealing is the exact percentage of drop rates for certain items. That's the biggest debate because half the battle of gambling is knowing, right? If you
Yeah.
know what you're getting yourself into, you're no longer responsible as the person providing, the service. If you provide a loot box and the cool item that everybody wants has less than a 1% drop rate, nobody's gonna buy the product because they're probably not gonna get it, right? So
Yeah.
right now the big battle is getting these companies with these super predatory systems to start giving more information on how that system works, so players or people in general can prepare themselves for what is going to happen if they buy into that system. And just to reiterate on the gambling thing, like that's exactly what it is. It's roulette. It's literally roulette.
Yeah.
It's a chance at success and failure every single time. And when
It's
they
messed up, especially for use. I mean, I know, Aramel, you're saying your 12-year-old wanted skins. As far as skins go in Fortnite, for the most part, you can buy them directly with money. I don't have any problem if you want to buy something that looks cool for a designated price and you'll get that item. I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is someone basically throwing money at a chance to get something they want. Because that's essentially what I did, and it's messed up. You're gonna fall into the loophole of chasing the dragon, and you're never gonna catch that dragon. You know, if
Very
you do,
slim.
you're gonna get hella lucky, and then you're just gonna want to do it again because once you get that item, you're like, it's all right. Well, I don't want it anymore. You know, it's the same thing with the toys you get your kids. They'll play with it for a while, and then they'll get bored of it. Same thing with gambling. It's just, you know, once they do it, they're gonna want to do it again.
It's the high.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, I mean, and let's not act like Star Wars is innocent of this. Are we gonna act like hypercrates aren't the biggest scam
That was
ever?
exactly what I was gonna say.
It's like $40 for a hypercrate.
Yeah, it's
and you aren't gonna get anything
$50.
half the time.
It's
It's
$50
insane money.
for a hyper. I know I bought in some. I've never opened up one, but I've given them away on my giveaways and stuff. So I bought them, and yeah, they're $50 a pop. I'm like,
Oh,
what?
they're insane.
Just
They're
for
insane.
a whole bunch of, and a lot of this stuff isn't really good stuff, I guess, that you get in there. But
No,
it
it's trash.
reminds me of Hearthstone. I'm not even kidding. One day I spent $300 buying the packs of 40s, and I was disintegrating or whatever into dust and all that sort of stuff. But I was so addicted to the animation of opening the packs. But I spent $300. I'm like, what the heck am I doing? Yeah, it can be fun, but yeah, especially
That's
for
how they
kids.
get you. It's always those effects on your mind that really make you want to just keep going.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't.
I'm like, hey,
You
this
really
looks
shouldn't.
pretty. Let's go. Maybe I'll get. Is this a good card? No, it's not. Okay, let me buy some more packs, or
I
But
mean, who played Star Wars back when the loot crates had a chance to drop like blue crafting materials?
I did
It was
not.
it was
But
bad.
that's-
Like
that
dude,
sounds really
hypercrates
bad.
used to be so bad back in the day. Like you would get garbage companion gifts, you'd get garbage crafting items, you
Oh,
get
yeah.
garbage
Oh
like
my.
vendor trash. It was so bad.
And
Like,
you get
oh
a
my god.
chance
What's
at
$50 now?
cartel market certificate.
Oh,
Oh
and they
my
God,
it's
yeah.
the actual biggest scam, dude. The actual biggest
yeah,
scam in
card
the world.
Yeah.
Dude,
Not only that,
I-
you needed rep to even use them, dude.
Star Wars has been fleecing people for years, and I'm really surprised that it hasn't been a bigger topic of discussion for how bad that system is. They've made it a little bit better with the market having more direct
Yeah.
purchase items, which I think is fantastic, by
Yeah.
the way. Like, keep doing more of that.
Yeah.
Anything to get us away from hypercrates being the main source of acquiring cool stuff, I'm all for.
Yeah.
Like, stop
And to be
that
honest-
stuff.
Agreed.
Yeah. That's kind of why I don't really harp on people that have a lot of the cool shit in Star Wars, is because you can buy most of it now off the cartel market, which is, as you said, great. But at the same time, this is, if you guys are wondering why this game is alive, this is why. It's because of the hypercrates. So you can thank your Lord and Savior hypercrates every time you open the cartel market from now on.
Yeah, I've spent a
it's
lot of
insane.
money on Star Wars for sure, but I love the game, but I've never bought a hypercrate to open for myself, only as like giveaway, not. But
Well, let me just say this. Even if you did, you don't need to feel bad about it, because everyone has probably done it at some point in this game. Don't feel bad about it.
I just
It's
don't
just-
want anything. If I do, I just go buy it from the cartel market direct. I just buy the cartel coin, and just buy it if it's on sale.
Yeah, well, I guess my point is, I don't blame anyone for buying hypercrates, because the ultimate goal of getting a hypercrate is to just get something cool, and everyone wants to look cool. It's an MMO, everyone wants to look different, everyone wants to have their own style, everyone wants to look weird. That's fine. Just realize what you're getting into from now on whenever you buy one of those things, okay? That's all I'm asking.
Just go buy it direct off the market. They're having great sales for the next 6 weeks. And if you do have cartel coins that you have sitting in your stash, I would highly suggest if you do not, if there isn't anything that's currently on the market for sale, wait until 6.0 comes, which is next week, and see if there's anything else that might be new that's going to be at that point. I don't know if there is,
Ooh.
so don't quote me on that, but they might be seeing something that's attributed to that. So, what else was I going to say? So I think we've gone an hour and a half now. I think, is there any questions for either Cease, Score, or Caibek?
Why did you say that so weird?
I was almost going to say Kai, but then I don't want him confused with the other wannabe Kais. So then I just figured I would say Beck.
Okay.
I like that.
I was like, Caibek. Okay, so anyways, yeah, so is there any questions for these three guys?
If not, we're all going back to Destiny.
They're all going back to Destiny, and they're probably going to be ordering pizza.
Hell no, I got leftovers.
Oh,
Most of
okay.
it-
So I do want to thank you so much for finally getting together with us. I know work is really busy for you, and I'm so happy we were able to change it to a separate day. And dude, I like this right here. Where did you get that umbrella?
I have no idea. I don't do the decorating for my guild.
That's awesome. That is really awesome. I love it. I don't even know what it's called, but I wonder where they got it. But yeah, thank you so much for allowing us to come hang out right here. And also for buying us chairs.
Oh, it's no problem at all. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Is there anything else you guys want to say, or?
Nope, I'm good.
Well, if you guys are looking forward to 6.0, just remember, clean out your material storage. Well, I guess you can keep most of it, so the material storage now is going to be attached to your inventory. It's going to be legacy-wide, so you can pull out materials anywhere on any character through your material storage, which is super helpful. But the isotope, the CMTs, all rare mats that are currently in-game are going to lose their value tremendously, including any other green mats. So I would highly recommend trying to get rid of that before you lose way too much money coming 6.0.
Yeah, he's been after me for like months. Get rid of those.
Probably 8 months now. Yeah.
Find isotopes.
Maybe a year.
Yeah, maybe a year. I used to have like 1,500 or something like that, but now I only have. Actually, I have 0. The last part is a sale. But, anyways, thank you guys so much for being here. I'm gonna go ahead and put this exclamation podcast in here in my chat. So normally we run on Sundays at 1 p.m. PST and 4 p.m. Eastern. So we'll be back on Sunday with another podcast. Probably we won't be having a guest this time, just because it's such a short period of time. So lots of gaming combo next or this Sunday, I should say. Again, thank you so much for being here, Caibek, and good luck, you guys, in whatever you guys are gonna go do on Destiny 2. If I have a chance, I might come join you guys so you guys can carry me. You know, that's pretty much what you have to do if you play carry me.
Okay, so we're gonna go do Leviathan then?
No. Anyways,
Why not?
No, that's okay. No. But anyways, yeah, thank you all for being here. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up my stream. This is going to be, let me go ahead and actually give you this. This is Cease's YouTube. Come 6.0, I know he's going to be starting to do he's going to be working hard on some new guides with the new gearing systems for pretty much probably all the classes. I hope that he starts with Mara and Jug because that's one of his mains. He's an amazing Mara. So definitely give him a follow on his YouTube channel, if you not mine. He also puts out videos, I want to say once a week, maybe more. Is it about once a week, Cease?
It's about every week.
Every week. So uh, go ahead and sub to him. That way you can see videos that he is putting out. Anyways, if you want to rewatch this, or if you only like you came in at the either the at last end of it or whatnot, it will be uploaded to my YouTube channel. You can click the YouTube link underneath my stream. Like to follow me. Anyways, I want to thank you again, Caibek. I want to thank you, Score. And look like Score left already. He's like Destiny 2. I'm already viewing. So, anyways, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you all for being here. Whoa! I got kicked out of Star Wars. Great. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. Oh, I know what happened. I got kicked back to Rishi. Why? Someone kicked me from the stronghold.
Oh my.
Wow.
Yeah, I have no idea who would do such a thing.
I don't either.
me.
Probably just the someone who has. That's his stronghold. I only have one
No.
person.
I don't know.
He gave me permission. I just kicked you.
Really?
It was
You
Score. It
did?
was Score.
Yeah.
But you
Oh,
left
Score.
first. I think you got kicked first. Don't lie. C's probably is not going to get kicked because, you know, that's his homie. But anyways, everybody's like, wow. There you go. I've been kicked. Literally kicked. It's not the first time I've been kicked, so I can't say that it's the first. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later.
See ya.
All right. That was funny. I was like, what happened? I thought I honestly thought that my game freaked out for a moment. I want to thank you guys all for being here. I might come back later on. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the game Arcade. Arcade Unchained got released today. Okay, so I don't know much about the original Arcade, but apparently that one was a pay-to-win game. They came out with this new one, and you pay for it once, and I think that's it. I'm going to assume that there might be like expansions or DLCs that come further on. But for right now, you buy the game and that's it. You're good to go for everything. So you may want to look that up. I'll go ahead and type it in chat. Arcade Unchained. So that was just released. There's different packets. I think it's like $20 or something like that. I actually pre-ordered it a couple days ago, maybe. I'm not too sure. So that's actually been downloading, or actually it was already downloaded. I was trying to get into a server. There was that much traffic. You know how that is. If you've ever gone into WoW Classic, you would know, like on the first day or so, it was just like wait time. You're in a complete queue just to get on. So anyways, I may decide to come stream that a little bit later. I'm going to be creating my tune and whatnot, and you guys can watch me do that if you want. Anyways, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. What I'm going to go do is look to see if I can find someone else who is streaming. And obviously, I am going to go find someone who is in... Ooh, I see someone who's doing a raid. Hold on a moment. Since you know how much I am enjoying my NIM raids these days. Let's see. Yeah. Let me get you over there. It looks like they're doing DF NIM. Yikes. I would love to get that. That's the last raid I need to get down. So let me get you guys over there. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'll either see you later on today or tomorrow.